You have tuned into Breaking the Mask of Depression with your host, Diva with Depression.
Hey guys, welcome to Behind the Mask. Me, your host, the Diva with Depression. I hope everyone is doing well. I hope you guys are taking care of yourself. I hope everyone that is under the cloud of orange skies is is keeping themselves safe. What a weird world we live in. So I have two amazing guests today. You know that June is Men's Health Month, but I wanted to bring some guys on to sort of share how they live with mental illness and just get some feedback. And if you know me, you know that my brothers are my absolute world. My mom calls them my thieves, not hers. So they just mean everything to me, and that's who I have on today, guys. So welcome, Bruddas. How are y'all?
Doing good, doing good.
Doing all right?
Okay, so you got to introduce yourself. Start with the baby.
Okay, well, everybody call me Butchie, but my real name is Donald. Hello, everybody. How are you?
Okay, big brother.
Your real name is Donald?
Yeah, right. Everybody forgets.
I had that in my notes to ask if we had to do the government name or
But
Okay, big brother.
I'm Donna's big brother, Greg.
So I so appreciate you guys coming on. I know that we were joking all the time about whether, we were going to do this or not and have you individually. So I'm so excited that you guys are on. I'm excited and nervous because, when the three of us get together, God only knows what'll happen. So I'm not going to say be nice because, I'm not nice. And just be yourselves, don't feel like you have to put on airs or anything. Just be as open and honest as you want to be. If there's something that you don't want to talk about, then don't talk about it. So let's get into the first question. Introduce yourselves, meaning tell us what you do for a living. Who's going to go first? Big brother?
yeah, we let big age go first.
Okay, I'm Greg. I am IT professional. I also am heavily involved in ministry, media, video, audio editing, and presentations.
Guys,
And I'm happily married for 5 years.
yay. You guys always hear me thank Illumination Technology at the end, and my big brother is Illumination Technology. So that's my shameless plug. I'll plug
Illumination Media and Technology.
Media. You see, I always get it mixed up. Thank you. We'll plug the correct name at the end of the show.
Shameless plug.
Okay, Butch, what do you do for a living?
I am a truck driver, so I run the roads and bring you your groceries and your fuel and your toilet paper during COVID, that kind of stuff.
Thank goodness for thank goodness for Okay. So, Greg, we'll start with you. What is your definition of mental illness?
If I were to define mental illness as I've experienced it, was going through periods of what I would later understand as being depression, dealing with, mental anguish, getting in, tough situations, tough circumstances, and entertain, some serious thoughts.
Right.
On whether, it's even worthwhile this, I guess, a lot of people might say that, sometimes when you get to it, you get down to it, that's the easy way out. But
right.
Some way I always kind of, dismissed them, but never really gave some much thought to why I was feeling that.
Right.
You just move on. You do, what quote unquote, you do the man thing. You suck it up and move on.
Right.
You
Right.
get yourself together and get your mind right
Right.
and solve your problem.
Everything will
But
be okay.
yeah. But I know, I learned later on that's a little deeper than that, a lot deeper than that, actually. So
Butch, what about you?
Okay, I'm probably gonna say it's probably hard for me to come up with my own definition of mental illness because being 53 now and sitting back and watching my behavior from basically a younger kid, maybe 8, 9, up until this point, watching my behavior and how I carried myself and things I did, and like Greg just said, not realizing that it was depression, it was a sickness, it was something to deal with,
Right.
but just thinking you just got to be that man. You got to suck it up, drive on, overcome it, do what you got to do. And so I guess I mean it might, I don't know, maybe mental there's different stages of it.
Right.
Maybe, but for me, it would be hard to define it because now I'm gonna say in the last 53, in the last 5 years, I really started becoming aware of the depression thing and my behavior and how I was carrying myself and realizing that there is help out there. There's other people that go through it, other
Right.
people to deal with it. So I guess it'd be hard for me to put a definition on it right now.
I well, one of the things that surprised me is when I was in the hospital the first time, mommy said that grandpa lived with mental illness. And, you guys know how we are about grandpa, the
We
strongest man in
idolize
the
them.
world, and to think that this man who raised us and always kept us in some sort of sanity and somewhat on the right path was living with this and never talked about it. And I think that's one of the things that always hits the back of my mind when I listen to men not talk about mental illness, because there's so many millions that don't talk about it, including you guys.
Hmm.
That's not something that, and even though as close as the three of us are, that's not something that we talked about. And until recently, like Butch said, until recently, I hear more you guys sort of acknowledging it more and talking about it more. I don't know if that's because you matured and because I'm always talking about it. So I think it's awesome that you guys are here. I'm going to keep saying that because you're going to help so many people.
I think that, is kind of how it hit me too, because once I found out that that's something that grandpa battled through, I was almost in shock, number one.
Right.
But on the other side of it, then, that also let down that the fallacy of, well, you're a man, you really can't, you got to open up to that. You got to be receptive to it,
Right.
because if he through it and battled through it, then, it's a thing. It's a real thing. And that awakened me to it being, possibly generation.
Right. Right. And I another thing that I always share is, and I think that sort of opened my mind up to it not just being environmental. Genetics are involved, and just like you can pass down heart conditions and diabetes, you can pass down mental illness, and we know how it runs rampant through our family. So
It does.
hearing, grandpa being the first man in my life, other than you two, that helps a lot sometimes. You both have exact you both have just admitted that you have mental illness. And so looking back, at what age do you think that symptoms started to show up, Butch?
Me, as far back as I can remember, I
Right.
mean, when I've sat down and looked into the past and my behavior like me, I would just go off and not bother. I don't want to bother with nobody. I would just want to be myself. And I'm thinking for so long, I say I'm Aquarian, we're loners, but I'm not realizing that that's a different kind of behavior.
Right.
And me, I guess not associate with people well, not letting people in, being by myself, don't want to be bothered, pushing people away. I'm kind of thinking that it's a kind of that behavior too, not letting people in. I can remember times at later stages in life, like say if I wasn't working at a time, I could lay in bed for 2, 3 days,
Yeah.
not want to be bothered with nobody. And
Mm.
later on in life, I think what helps me deal is me working.
Yeah.
Like I knew I put myself in that position where I knew I had to get out there and work, but being a trucker, I could go deliver a load, go pick up another load, but I still don't bother with nobody.
Right.
People will call me, I ignore their phone calls.
Right.
Might not talk to loved ones for 2, 3, 4 weeks at a time.
Yeah.
It's like I alienated myself, and that was like my, I guess, form of depression or
Yeah.
mental illness, or how you want to put it.
What about you, Greg? What age do you think that you noticed?
I guess, man, it was hard for me to say, to really pick up on symptoms until I became a teenager. Or no,
Yeah.
in my teens. And one of the things Bush just said is if I wasn't working, if things weren't working out, and again, we tie who we are with our productivity almost as a man,
Right.
and just like, grandpa raised us. Boy, you got to be out there working. And if you
Yes.
ain't, you don't meet the criteria. So if I didn't meet the criteria, then that's when I start feeling down on myself. And what Bush just said is I could spend 3 to 4 days in the house, in bed. I might get up to eat and go to the bathroom, but that's it. I don't want to speak to nobody. I don't want, and that carried over into my adult life.
Right.
That that I almost define myself by my productivity, or and unfortunately, the only thing that would snap me out of that was really unhealthy relationships, and and I guess in a way that's all tied into your supposed manhood.
Right.
So one way or another, that to me was a sign. But I want to say something real quick, and this might not be all that popular, but I still don't have the mindset that I struggle with mental illness. It's
Right.
something I dealt with,
Right.
just like I am about cancer.
Right.
I don't say, yeah, I have cancer. I had it and
Right.
I overcame it. And
Right.
that's how I kind of feel about my struggles with mental illness. But that doesn't downplay it at all.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's just my mindset. That's how I attack any attacks against me.
Right.
By I'm going to battle with. And that battle, my mindset is that battle I won. And
Right.
and I won this battle. But that's not, diminishing the effect of mental health on number one on society and in this particular instance on men. So
Right.
Yeah.
Um, one of the things that I wanted to say is that that is me in a nutshell. If I don't have an obligation, I will not get out of bed or I will not leave the house. And it's not just us. I mean, I know millions of people think that way, but it's
yeah,
just so interesting to hear you both say that it's work that gets us out the bed and out of that mindset. And even if it's just for a couple of hours, as long if we have an obligation, we'll continue to do it. And there are probably so many men that overwork themselves because of mental illness or whatever it is, and not sharing that. So that's important. I'm gonna pick on you guys about when we were younger. And Butch, I'll start with you first
hmm
because we already know that you was the wild child, when you were a
hmm
teenager. Um, and of course, I'm always gonna protect you and I'm never ever, that's how I've always been. So I'm just
Yeah, no
make sure that
question.
you're straight, but we never discuss certain things. And so some of the things that you did when a teenager, do you think that, and you can share them if you want, but do you think that some of your behavior as a teenager was connected to just being a teenager or being a teenager that was going through a struggle?
I think I could say trying to fit in.
Yes.
I guess if you want to trying to fit in, like I mean, running with gangs.
Right.
I was never. I even had them. My. I still call them my brothers, my gang members. I even had them telling me, "What are you doing here?" 'Cause this ain't
Right.
true.
Right.
But I always tried to. I always tried to keep up, and that's what I always to this day I say it. I always tried to keep up.
Right.
You know, I knew guys that turned into killers and kingpin drug dealers and stuff
Right.
like that. But just me, that was never in my heart.
Right.
But trying to once again trying to fit in.
Right.
You know, trying to. I don't know, searching for something that was missing. I guess I don't know. I guess that's what it was.
Yeah.
But just wasn't never truly me
Right.
from. And as a little kid too, just always tried to fit in. Elementary school, junior
Yeah.
high school, just always tried to fit in. Never found my niche,
Right.
but I never allowed nobody to get close to me. I wasn't showing who I was.
Right.
So bottom line, I would never find a niche because I was never letting people in to see who I was.
Right. Right.
So if that's part of it, oh, you the expert here. I'll follow your lead.
I'm not an expert. But
You
I
are.
want to say, I have to say that your character when you were talking about not talking to people and stuff like that. So I
Mhm.
want to tell my listeners that my nickname for you has always been Marmaduke because you were always jumping up on somebody and kissing them and hugging them.
Mhm.
And so that behavior of you separating yourself and isolating yourself
Yeah.
is so out of character, you know. Um,
And even you guys, when we went
right,
months, like 3, 4, 5 months, when I
right,
wouldn't even call.
right.
I wouldn't even talk to none of you guys.
Yeah.
So that was. I mean, it wasn't right. I understand.
No, you know what? There's no right or wrong because we all have to cope with life as we can,
Mhm.
without answering to somebody or anybody,
Mhm.
and you had to do what you had to do at the time. So never say sorry for that.
Mhm.
Um, Greg, give me an example of maybe how it showed up in your teenage years. Or not just teenagers to 20s or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, just like I said, tying myself in, and I guess in a lot of ways, just to hear Butch say it, I was always my identity wasn't always in something else.
Right,
That's kind of how you got your fulfillment. That really took your mind off of whatever problems you were trying to hide,
right,
and but they end up, once you get into the latter stages of adulthood, they ended up, you know, snowballing,
right.
because all you really did was sidestep them and not deal with them.
Exactly. Yeah,
Eventually, they all, got you where you are in later adulthood. I always would feel bad, not steady, the traditional, steady job,
right,
you know, around in jobs. I bounced around in, places to live. I bounced around in relationships. I bounced around, So and that snowballed as you got to an older adult, and that's when those depressive moods would set in. Like you're
right,
looking around, you're evaluating. Now you're older, and you're starting a self-evaluation. You're looking around and measuring yourself up against what other people your age are doing at your stage in life, and you're like, man, this I'm falling back. So all that would do was get you, to zone out almost. You
right,
get in those moods where you feeling sorry for yourself, you're talking down on yourself, you settle, you put yourself in situations where you're settling, just to maintain, just to take your mind, you'll settle for whatever, take your mind off of your real situation.
right.
And that, like I said, man, and I'll say, that kept happening up until I was in my 40s.
Wow. Um, I want to go back to something that you said, Greg, about not wanting to be here.
Mm,
And how that shows up. And people that are living with intent, I'll say myself,
mm,
I've always gotten blowback for sharing that there are times when I don't want to be here anymore, or sharing that, um, I wouldn't mind if I left earlier, or and not, I've never, surprisingly, I have never acted on any of those feelings ever. But that
The same.
doesn't change the fact that the suicidal ideation is there. And when I wake up in the morning, and some people say, well, thank God for waking me up, I don't always say thank you for waking me up, because I didn't want to wake up. And so that's something that I've never heard the two of you say out loud. Um, and so, Butch, we're going to start with you. If you
Hmm.
want to, just whatever you want to share, but have those thoughts ever entered your mind?
Well, I've been there, because I took pills before. I took
Right.
pills. They rushed me to the hospital, put my stomach in there. And to be honest, I don't know, cause like I said, I just took the pills. I didn't know if they were serious enough. I think I took I forgot what it was. They said they're gonna make you more sick than anything, but I don't know if it was more of a just not wanting to be here or just looking for attention.
Okay.
So,
Mm.
but I woke up. They pumped my stomach. I looked at the nurse and said, "Look, I'm not. I still want to be here. This was a
Hmm.
big mistake. Da 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 da." They ain't give me no counseling. They ain't say, and ever since then, it never has gotten that bad. What I said, I just didn't want to be here anymore.
And
You
have you
know, so
said that? Have you said that to yourself throughout the
yeah, I
years?
didn't. No, never. That was that one time I had that little episode, but
Oh,
I
wow.
never, never said I didn't. I'm just done with this world and just don't want to be here no more. I just want to call it quits and go to sleep and don't wake up.
Wow.
I've never gotten to that point. That's why I feel I don't know with the mental health what we're talking about. That's why with me, if I'm wrong, I feel there's different levels of it.
Almost
Because
definitely.
some people get to that point,
Yeah.
but then some people don't get to that point, but they're still dealing with the heavy depression. Like we just said, we sleep or wanted to sleep or just we go through life, but don't want to deal with nobody. We just our presence or whatever. So I still feel that there's different levels of it and more serious levels
Right.
of it.
Oh, most definitely. And not everybody understands the next person. Someone that doesn't have those thoughts doesn't understand people that do have those thoughts.
Hmm.
And Greg, you mentioned it first. So are those thoughts that were strong throughout your years, or?
I'd say they were pervasive in my early and mid 20s, just because my situations then were so fluid,
Right.
so all over the place. I was all over the place, and it's weird. Well, I used to operate under the assumption that it ain't that visible to the outside, but it
Right.
probably was. That's probably what I'd like to think. But
Right.
everybody knew I was a mess,
Right.
and I might try to mistake it. But when my alone time, I was in my alone time. Then those are the times that I could be really critical of myself and really beat myself down.
Right.
And I used to, yeah, I'd experienced that a lot. You
Thank you
know,
guys for being honest about that.
you
You
know, you know, it kind of subsided after a while, and the me saying that I don't even want to be here anymore. That was again early and mid 20s, but it really hasn't come up like that since.
know, okay.
Now, that's not to say that you haven't had periods where you were experiencing depressive moods,
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
but not to that
Not to
extent.
that extent.
Yeah.
Um, but Greg mentioned his relationships. Well, you're talking about intimate relationships. So
Hmm.
either one of you can go first, but how has how have those actions or living with a mental illness affected your personal relationships?
But
It could be with, talking about, I mean, you're new married, and Greg, you're married, with the kids, just even with me, even with your siblings or people that you're close to, just do you see did you see notice that your actions affected your relationships?
it did, cause me when I was there, I drove a truck. Then when I was there, I wasn't there.
Right.
Like once again, my standard. Like my kids now, my kids, I got 129, 126, and 226, and they could tell me right now, we're just seeing who you are because
Okay.
now I'm to a point where I'm showing myself.
Right.
So I got kids watch up and they like, we never saw you smile. You didn't let us in. You didn't tell us stories. You didn't. So I kept myself distance.
Yeah.
I mean, I kept myself distance from a lot of people for a long time.
Right.
And I'm gonna say in the past 2, 3 years is when I really started opening up more.
Well, I just have to interject and say that I'm very proud of you. And I said the same thing the whole weekend of your wedding, saying that I have not seen my brother smile like this in so long. And it was just
Mhm.
the most beautiful feeling. I think I've been saying it since the wedding. um,
Mhm.
so, yes, you're right. We're so happy to get your smile back.
Mhm.
Greg, what about you?
Oh, and again, I never realized this or gave it that much thought while I was going through it. But I can see how it manifested itself in the inability to sustain quality relationships. I
Right.
can also how it led me to just casual and convenient just because that was my distraction.
Right.
That was that's what would get me. It was almost like the drug.
Right.
That was what make me feel better than it really was.
Right.
That was it okay. And so there was no real substance to it, as far as I'm concerned. Yeah, some might have lasted longer than others, and I didn't really have disastrous, maybe with one exception, but it just you can see they weren't healthy, and they
Okay.
weren't is because I wasn't bringing anything really that healthy into it. Just
Right.
because, you know, immaturity, um, and just inability to really, self-analyze and know. And because if you jumping over what the one of the real issues are, then you really ain't going to diagnose it. You're not going to be able to self-diagnose it. So
Right.
if it's going through, depressive spells and moods and depression itself, and you don't call it that, you don't recognize it, then the end result ain't gonna be pretty.
Right.
Yeah.
You know?
Um, I, I wanted, and not, I didn't have this on the list, but Greg mentioned it first. My addiction, my coping, food and smoking, cigarettes, y'all. You know,
I remember.
different things like that. So let's just say food and smoking were my coping mechanisms. We're not going to say that food is gone, but smoking's gone. Butch, did you have any addiction stem from your feelings?
I mean, well, I spoke to drinking.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, different meaningless relationships. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I was in a marriage,
Right.
but unhappy in a marriage, seeking out you know, other forms of basically just other women.
Right.
And I guess that's what it was.
Yeah. One of the things that I always share is that so many of us looking for love look other places and
Mhm.
end up in situations that we don't want to be in,
Mhm.
and that could be being overweight, having an addiction, having outside relationships or meaningless relationships. Those are all the ways that we cope with not receiving something.
Mhm.
We go looking for it. But that's not something to be ashamed of, because I think that once you can admit it, you're free. Well, not free, but you said it. It's the first step, and then we can move on. So, like I said, I was going to say it a bunch of times throughout the episode. I'm so glad that you guys are being open and honest about it because many men won't admit, like having an affair is it's looking for something that they're missing. So, thanks for being open about that. Have you
Yeah,
guys ever? I'm sorry.
No, no, I'm saying my life was one big affair.
Right.
And think about it, a series of committed relationships,
Right.
then, or, yeah.
And to be honest, I stayed in a relationship for 30 years because of something that was missing. So
Mhm.
it can go both ways. That we were looking for love. Look, what did Eddie Murphy say? Looking for love in all the wrong places. That's what we were doing. Um, have you guys ever taken medication or went seeked out professional help?
Mm-mm.
No, Butch.
I,
I'm thinking in the military, I was forced to.
Okay.
In the military, I went through, when I went through the AA stuff in the military,
Hmm.
part of that, they had me see, I had to go talk to a counselor for I guess normal procedure for a counselor is you got to have 3 sessions.
Okay.
So they had to give me 3 sessions for the counselor and all of that and everything. But once again, it stemmed from depression because now I'm in the military,
Right.
and in the military, you just don't show up for work.
Eh,
That's that'll end everything,
right.
and that's what was going on with me. That was at a time of my life where it was just unbearable. It was just ridiculous, and I wasn't showing up for work. You got formations and you're not showing up, so you don't do that in the military. It's heavy consequences behind. So that's what I was going through. So no medication, but seeing the counselors, and they even put me in AA classes and
Okay.
all of that kind of stuff.
What about you, Greg? No medication, no therapy or anything?
no, there was one time. Actually, this when I probably about 10 years ago, I went to the VA and they suggested that I go to counseling, but I thought I had kind of been past most of the stuff that I would have told them about. I went to one session and never went back. But again, by then I'm thinking this is behind me.
Right.
And and I kind of think the mindset, it was somebody talking about, or now that you're going through the VA, they'll help you in your VA claims. And I didn't honestly, I was at a place where I didn't want to claim that.
Okay. Okay.
Not I'm going through it. But my help wasn't clinical.
Right. Okay. Um, thank you for answering that. Okay. As men, because this will tie into neither one of you getting professional help. As men, what do you think is this like why is there a stigma against men seeking help for mental health reasons?
Cause
Sign of weakness.
yeah,
Okay.
Mhm.
yeah.
Okay.
Cause we're men.
Just that
Manly
macho, that
men.
macho about us, and
You.
it's just a sign of weakness. You're not
Ab-
holding yourself down and this and
yeah.
that. Taking care of business.
Right.
If you running around saying, "Oh, depressed or sick or whatever," it's just, just
That's
feel it's not a good look.
Right.
yeah, societally unacceptable.
Right.
Say that. I'm talking about, our it's culturally it was for a long time culturally unacceptable. And I mean in our culture, in our
Right.
subculture,
Right.
it's unacceptable for you can't be labeled a strong African American man and then say you're battling depression. Well,
Right.
because that is a kink in the armor. You couldn't have it both.
Right.
Hmm.
That stuff that we absolutely were not going to admit to.
And that's crazy because as African American men, we're living with 400 you're living with 400 years of PTSD, and never ending turmoil, and you can't admit that it's bugging you.
Yeah, but we're not conditioned that way. We're not raised that way. We're raised that regardless of what the circumstances are, you have to battle it. You got to be a warrior and you got to overcome it. Now, in retrospect, you can do all that and acknowledge the fact that there's something eating away at you and deal with it, but
Right.
still be a warrior and still battle through it and still overcome it. But you got to recognize the enemy, attack it, and make it ineffective.
Right. Is are you at the point now, say, Butch, if your son told you that that's what he was struggling with, are you more understanding now? Or, do you think that you're better now as far as handling it as a man differently?
Yeah, I mean, we talk about it. My son
Right.
Avery, man, we talk about it because he's dealing with it too. Avery go off by himself and just get in the corner or something and we talk about that more too. You
Okay.
know, and
Yeah.
once again, the generational curse thing and trying to break these generational curses and everything. And one of my daughters, I haven't talked to her in 3 years now, and I know she goes through it.
Right.
Yeah.
I've watched her go through it. So as far when she opens up and reaches out again, we'll talk about it more to express more what they're going through. But once again, they see I'm more understanding because now I'm opening up. I'm telling
Right.
what I went through.
Right.
So I'm hoping that's making them deal with it a little bit easier and understand better.
Yeah, it's difficult when it comes to the children. You know, we all have children and we can all recognize when they're going in the opposite direction. Some of our kids have gone, have it more intensely than others, but it's it bugs me out, I should say, that we can recognize it in our children, you know,
Hmm.
and just to see how far it's come, and how much we have to fight to end that, that our kids can carry that on, and how can we prepare them for breaking that
Hmm.
chain. But that's a whole nother Oprah show. um, you know, okay.
No,
So
but see, I think that's so relevant because I'm gonna tell you the truth. If it wasn't for you, I probably wouldn't. I wouldn't have the in-depth knowledge of it. I wouldn't
Hmm.
even have the acceptance. I wouldn't have the understanding. I wouldn't have the self-realization, of it at all. Because I've seen how it affects you, and as far as I'm concerned, it affecting you affects me.
right,
If I see my nieces, how it affects my niece, yeah, now that affects me, and I got to get a understanding of what's going on here. You
right.
know, it is. I think that's is really important. It's really relevant.
Butch, I don't know if you watched the Greg and Lynn did a series with me,
Yeah.
talking about caregivers and family members, and it really surprised me listening to Greg saying how far he's come in his thinking about mental illness.
Hmm.
Are you there also? Like, are you more aware?
Once again,
Uh,
like he just said, from listening to you and watching you, it's really opening my eye. I mean, you remember? I don't know if you remember. A couple of years ago, you gave me a list of counselors
right,
when I was living in Virginia to go, talk to
right,
because you had me. Once again, you got me looking into it, and you got me looking at my behavior
right.
from the past up until now.
Yeah,
So I am, and now I'm talking to other, I guess you would say other men more,
right.
getting a little bit more personal, and they're telling what they're going through. I'm telling what I'm going through, issues and all of that, and it's not a bad thing. It's a good thing because
It,
people,
yeah,
you talk about it, you realize that you got men out there going through the same stuff.
yes,
And they're getting through it, and whatever issue they had that should have been through, you got through it to show
right,
that it's not, it shouldn't be crippling. I guess I could say
right,
it shouldn't be crippling. It's a way to get through it and a way to deal with it.
right. And ladies, I'm talking to y'all. You see how we're sitting here having this conversation? You can have that conversation with the men in your lives without harassing them. Like Butch came to me and he said, "Do you have do you have any contacts or counselors in the area?" I didn't I didn't nag you. I don't think I nagged you at that time. But
Mm-mm.
I'm just gonna give you the list. And when you're ready to go, you're ready to go. Greg, I don't think we ever had that conversation, about you getting help or anything like that. I will say that as your sister, I have recognized it in both of you and have never shared what I saw. And I never prodded you guys about it. But one of the things that bothered me all the time was you shutting off, shutting
Mm-hmm.
down, and then being on the road by yourself. because that's a cocktail. That's a dangerous cocktail,
Mm-hmm.
Greg, not attaching yourself fully to anybody. And sometimes not recognizing how deep things cut, because
Mm-hmm.
as men, you'll say, oh, well, I didn't have a good relationship with my mother, but that's all right because I'm a man, without acknowledging how deeply that sits and how it can affect you, and affect your life.
Mm-hmm.
And I wish more people would talk about that, and we're going to talk about that on another show about parents. But and this is a short conversation talking about parents. Um, of course, we grew up with the same mother, different fathers. Do you think that you recognize now some of the mental health issues surrounding parents that contributed to who you are and how you've grown up,
Most definitely.
Greg?
I mean,
I mean, there's no doubt that is such a big factor
Right,
in my development and our development, and in the realization of how it affects the three of us and
right,
our
mm-hmm.
children and
right,
the family around us. So that whole dynamic comes into play.
right,
My grandfathers, my uncles, the family as a whole, the whole dynamic, how one cog in that whole dynamic is a ripple effect.
right.
So, and that's kind of what brings me to where I am today,
Right.
and how I approach it and how I'd like to approach it. But that could be another show too.
Yeah. Were you going to say something else, Butch?
Oh, no, no, no.
Okay.
This.
Okay. So that'll bring me to my next question is, where are you at mentally today? Greg, Butch, whoever wants to go first.
Go
Okay.
for it,
Okay.
Greg.
Okay. Greg, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean,
Oh,
and again, I don't want to sound too prideful or anything else, or too. I, I'm I think I'm in a great place because I sis,
Yeah.
spirituality, my relationship with Christ, to me shaped everything.
Right.
That was my treatment. That was how I deal with it. That to me has revealed so much about who I am and who everybody around me is, including, mom, grandpa,
Right.
you, Butch. I mean, it shed so much life. It allowed me to think of something so much bigger than me.
Right.
It kind of lets me know who I was before anything else happened. And that is a perspective that helps me deal with day to day, no matter how bad things get. Because that don't stop things from getting tough,
Right.
yeah.
things from happening. But it shapes how you deal with them, your approach to them,
Right.
and more than anything else, it shapes how you think of yourself.
Right.
That has helped me immensely,
Exactly.
and now the big thing is to help others.
Yeah.
What about you, Butch?
I mean, same thing. I think, like, I mean, like drug addiction. You don't never get rid of it. It's
Right.
still there. You learn how to manage it. You learn
Right.
how to alcoholism the same thing. You don't get rid of it. You learn how to manage it. And I think with the depression, it's still there,
Right.
but you got to learn how to manage it. And then me, I feel I'm in a better place now. Now I'm interacting with people more. I'm talking more. My wife, you said earlier, I'm newly married, so now I could pick up the phone and just talk to her. If I'm in a bad mood, she pick up says she lifts me up too. Wanting more into the church. It's just I'm just not that depression. I'm feeling better about myself. I'm feeling better about my walk, my walk on this planet, this world or whatever. Building, like I said, build relationships I felt I hurt in the past. That those I'm rebuilding those and making those better. So just I'm not giving my chances just to go back into that place. If I feel it coming on me, like I said, talk to somebody, reach out to somebody, talk to them,
Right.
and I just don't let this. They don't let me go that deep. I guess that's how I'm dealing with it.
That's cool. Greg, is your wife around? Is your wife nearby?
She's about to be.
Okay. What would you say to men that are dealing with mental illness? Butch, we'll let you go first this time.
Talk it out. I mean, talk it out, cause I mean, somebody else is going through it. Somebody else is not a weakness. It's not a weakness and it can be crippling. But just talk it out. I mean, you got brothers out there, homeboys, whatever. Just shit out there and talk it out. It's not a sign of weakness to be going through this and just want to figure it out. And like I said, whatever you are going through, somebody else has been through it before.
Right.
And they'll take you on with you and show you that I'm still here. It's not a weakness. You could talk it out. You could deal with it, and still, I don't know, just still stand on your 2 feet, proud,
Right.
chest out, still be a man.
Cool. I like that answer. What about you, Greg?
One of the biggest things you gotta, and this is something I'm sorry I didn't do more, is the self-realization. You gotta be real with yourself, number one. You gotta to kind of put down what society says who you are and things they say you should or shouldn't do. You got to be real. You got to be open. You got to be honest. You got to, I know it's easier said than done, but when you think you want to cut yourself off from the world, that's when you got to have a system of people to reach out to. You
Right.
got to have people you can talk to. You have to. It's imperative. And like you were saying, there's no shame there. You got to be in a no shame, no condemnation environment. Somebody that's going to be there to support you, and you just gotta let it out. You got to know you ain't alone. There's a whole lot of other folks going through this, and there's folks that can help you through it just because they've been through it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And that's I think that's key, especially in Black and Brown communities. The more we share, the more we get loud about it, we start to help people. One of my things that I say as a big sister and a baby sister is that you guys are my life. Everybody already knows that. But in the past couple of years, I've noticed a change in you. And Greg, that's 5 years with you. Butch, that's about 2 years with you. I've noticed that you guys are happy. And for the three of us, that's all that mattered is making sure, or even, hoping that we get to happy. My beautiful snitcher-in-law, you have brought so much to my brother's life in the past 5-6 years, that it's truly amazing. And you already know how I feel about you. Um, but
Mm.
but the bonus question for you guys is, you've heard your husband talk about mental illness. Have you seen those traits during your marriage, and how did they show up? April.
Oh, wow. So, not even being prepared for this here question.
And it doesn't have to be anything major. Let me see.
Um, so one of the things that I think, I hate to even say mental illness for him, but I think as you're exploring it and we're looking at reality of some things that I see,
Mm-hmm.
you and I have already spoken about
Right.
and if there was cameras, I could show you the room pretty much right now. He thinks that's normal.
Right.
For me, I think it's very abnormal.
Right.
Because I think it also speaks to how the brain works.
Right.
So if you have a lot of uh, what do you call it, chaos around you,
Mm-hmm.
then pretty much your brain is going to be just as chaotic.
Right.
Thought process and stuff. So But that's one. I think the other maybe how certain things may trigger him to respond in a different way.
Right. Right.
And when I say that, I mean like there are certain things that can be said. Maybe now I'm being very transparent here now.
Of
So
course. Of course. We want to help everybody. So
okay. So if his mom says certain things, your mom
right.
says certain things,
Mhm.
he will I mean he just like explodes on
Right.
certain, whereas if I was to say, or if somebody else were to say the same thing,
Mhm.
it'd be as bad. But it would always still trigger him to go back to, that the response that he would give if it
Right.
was his mom saying it. So that's one. I'm not sure about anything. What else you think?
Now it's to you.
I don't know if ADHD has anything to do with
Definitely.
with that is definitely something that he deals with.
Right. And I think that it's so important. And I want to thank you guys for doing this, because I think it's important to see how we can be loving wives and siblings and still help.
Yeah.
April, you see everything, and in spite of, you're madly in love with your husband. I see that all the time. Even when it gets crazy and you call me, you're calling me because you love your husband. Um, and because I understand why there's clutter everywhere, which as a matter of fact is one of my next episodes on hoarding and clutter. But and how all of these things tie into our childhood. And so as a sister, I want to say thank you for loving him so much that you love him through everything and continue to love him through everything, and even love me with my crazy self through everything. But and you guys have endured, since your marriage, began. You've endured, and you guys are still strong and in love and helping each other. So
Now I'm not. It doesn't drive me crazy
oh,
sometimes.
listen, yeah, I
Definitely
know.
say that because I'll walk in the room and turn around and walk back out, which is one of our love. Which is one of our stories when we were dating. And all and I tell him I'm coming and thinking that he's all prepared for me. And when I get there, open the door and I go, "Oh my God,"
Mhm.
and
Yep.
turn around and drive all the way back to Greensboro. I'm like, I can't do it for today.
Oh, you wasn't supposed to.
And so now we're going to talk to my new sister-in-law, Miss Sharon. Thank you for coming on.
Yeah.
Thank you for coming on. I want to say, I have to always share this when I say Sharon, that my brother and my sister-in-law were in love at 14 years old. And many, 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 all these years later, reconnected, and I've never seen him happier. And so you've heard, we were talking about it before the show started, that you wanted to listen in to get some feedback about him.
Mhm.
But you've heard him tell you his story, and
Yeah.
you notice what goes on. What are signs that you see in Butch as his wife that may be connected to mental illness?
Um, wow. I've really never connect him to mental illness.
Mhm.
What I have connected to was the life that he endured, the trials and tribulation, his past marriage, the trauma. I recognize the trauma that he experienced through the years.
That's beautiful.
And what happens is he have triggers based on those traumas.
Right.
For example, the laundromat is his trigger. Okay. He's in the truck and he's like, baby, when I come home, we're gonna do the laundry. And he would do everything else in the world. Then he's on the truck and he's gone, and I'm still doing the laundry by myself. So that's definitely one of his childhood triggers.
That comes from Picken Avenue.
Listen.
Me and Donna.
Listen.
Yeah,
I have
so-
tears in my eyes listening to you, but go ahead, Sharon.
So what I gathered from my husband is he definitely make me recognize the strength in me in terms of patience,
Right.
and understanding. He has an aggressive manner in him in terms of I would kind of relate it to going blank, where he get angry, and whether he's speaking to me or texting me, he hears nothing I say. We can have a 2-hour as long as he is angry, he hears nothing.
Right.
So that's something that him himself is working on. What I admire about my husband is, no, he claims that he didn't seek counseling, but he did. Him and Greg both, but the counselor that they seeked was the Lord.
Right.
And I admire how when he doesn't understand his emotions and his feelings, how he turned to God, how he turned to the Bible, how he turned to another man of God.
Right.
Which is so important because they relate through the connection of God.
Right.
So that he does. Being in a new marriage, we're both dealing with his upbringing,
right,
and what he is used to doing, and dealing with my upbringing and what I used to do. So we're definitely right now in a place of button heads and just trying to come to a compromise. A lot of time I have to allow him to I guess feel that he won, or he meantime I know exactly what I'm doing because he ain't winning.
Right.
So I have to do, I have to in other words, I have to allow him to get it out of his system and get the anger out and give him a couple of days. And a lot of times I don't have to go back to it. He comes to me and say, well, I was a little harsh. Or maybe what you said, we could try to work it that way. So like I said, with me being patient, with knowing that he based on what he told me, and he hasn't have he's never experienced a good relationship. And like he said earlier, one of the reasons he never experienced a good relationship, or a healthy, let's say a healthy relationship, is because he never opened up.
Right.
He never let no one in. From day one, he allowed me in. Oh boy, I know them people are so glad he didn't let them in, because my husband, but I love him and I adore him, and the fact that he wants to be a better man. He wants to be able to control his mental emotions, because he wants to make sure that I'm happy. I feel that his drive on being a better man is because he wants me happy. Me being happy is so important to him that drive he gets for, again, opening up more, talking more, speaking out. Even when we have certain issues, he talks to people, because he, at the end of the day, he just want us to be okay. He want me to be happy. He wants to maintain the happiness that he received from me. And he does a good job at it.
That's awesome.
He does a good job at it. You know, again, I've never related him to having mental illness, but I see where it's something that's also hereditary, passed down, for generations. And I do recognize that, being around you guys also helped me to recognize my own little quirks, my family issues. It opened my eyes to I deal with my sister suffers from mental illness.
Okay.
I'm speaking hospitalized, I'm speaking medication, I'm speaking suicidal. She physically tried to take her life, try to electrocute herself in the tub. I don't think I've ever said that out loud. Pills. She tried several times, to take her life, and it's really bad. And she deals with it the best way she can. She lashes out a lot on me and my brother, but we know her illness, and we allow her to. What breaks my heart is that it was passed down to her children, and the oldest is 20, the youngest is 16, the middle one I believe is 18 or 19, probably 19. No, the oldest is probably 22, and the middle one is probably 19, and it came out, the attempt came out in my middle nephew. So it's definitely something that touched my heart, and that is really personal to me. Like I said, being around you guys, I understand that you've taught me that it's nothing to be shamed about having that in your surroundings. You guys taught me that talking about it, or accepting it, recognizing it, and just having patience with it, and again, getting rid of that guilt, getting rid of that shameness, really helped with my dealing with my sister and my mother as well. I'm saying that not to say that my mother suffered from mental illness, but my mother have no experience in mental illness, which I feel that because I don't have we don't have no prior experience, I don't think that we did my sister justice on how we handled certain outbursts and certain situations that at first we didn't recognize it, and then by the time we recognized it, she had already committed her first attempt to take her life. By the time we recognized it, in her in her early 20s, maybe 19, 20 years old. So again, because we don't know how to handle it, I felt that we didn't do my sister the justice that could have been done with her. So it's a learning experience. And I listen to your podcast, and I listen to your posts, and I read a lot of what you give out to the public, and thank God for you. Thank God for everyone that wants to be awareness that mental illness is real. And I thank you for that, and I appreciate that about you, to be able to go through and live with mental illness and still have the strength to talk about it and share it, because a lot of people that's dealing with mental illness, that's the hardest thing for them to do. And by you encouraging everybody that it's okay, it's all right, is a day by day, is every moment, every time you get up, every time you take a step, that's important. And knowledge is power. So, you know, my husband, I really don't have no complaints about him. I know his past. I know the life he lived. He's very honest. We talk at least 8 to 16 hours a day. Is not much I don't know about my husband at this point. So I definitely know that trauma in your life is a big part of your level in mental health, in mental illness. I recognize that, you know, and it enables me to be patient with my husband and listen. I'm learning how to listen to him. He's I'm recognizing that we're not at the same level in that, and I have to stop sometime and slow down and recognize when he just needs me to listen.
Right.
We have a way of just going back and forth and wanting to have a rebuttal, but that's not always the case. Sometimes you just want to be heard and understood, and I'm working hard on giving my husband that, giving him that time for him to feel it's okay for him to express his feelings, whether it's happy or sad or angry or joyful. It doesn't matter the emotions, but the fact that I want him to know that for any reason, in any situation, I will hear him. And I think that's helping him be able to release some of the emotions that he held on to over the years.
Wow.
You know? So I'm sorry if I went in a little too deep. I apologize.
I tell you at the beginning, there's no rhyme or reason on this podcast. We do what we got to do. I want to say to you the same. Thank you so much for loving my brother, because he changed. He was so different. He really was, and I don't think that we really recognized how much different he was until you guys got back together, and then you can see that there was just an extreme difference. So thank you for loving him. Thank you for sharing that, because you're giving people input and insight in how to deal with your mate, your husband, if they're struggling with the mental illness, trauma. I love you.
I love you too.
I want to say that we are going to have Butch and Greg on again, because Sharon mentioned the laundry and I started crying. Butch had a shake, Greg had a shake. So, but one thing that I share, and one thing that I share is that there are triggers that you can't even imagine, and they could be big, small, or whatever. But to hear Sharon say laundry, and the three of us, the expression on our faces just changed, because listen, I tell people I can never physically go to a laundromat ever again in my life. Everywhere I live has to at least have a washing machine, because I will not.
Yep. And that's how he feels.
Yeah.
And he's adamant about it.
And thank you.
I just had a about pushing the cart up to New Lots Avenue. The cart was so tall I couldn't even see over it.
Exactly.
That's how little I was.
Carrying that shit up 4 flights of stairs. Okay. So let me bring back. Let's get it back.
I regret that one.
Let's bring it back. Because I am going to have you guys on again, because lastly, one of the things that people talk to me about is they hear me talking and they don't realize that I have siblings because, they don't hear me talking about you guys in that light. They know that there's a big brother, they know that there's a baby brother, but this is the first time that they've ever heard the three of us come together and share as we did. And so I want to thank both of you for coming on and giving men hope, giving men some tools, giving men some nuggets, because you guys, and I'm not just saying this because I'm your sister. I mean, it could be because, but you guys are amazing men. You know that. And hearing it come from amazing quality men like you is going to change lives. So I want to thank you guys for being here. Is there anything that you guys would like to say before you tune out?
I'm glad to be here. I'm glad you involved me, and I would really like to do it again.
Okay, Greg.
Ditto.
Ditto. I want to thank you guys also for supporting me and for loving me. Sharon just made me cry again because you just never know who's listening. And I think that that's why I do what I do, because you don't know who's listening. But I want to thank you for being my brothers and for always supporting me no matter what and loving me through no matter what and just to helping me to keep going, because you guys are two of the people why I'm still here today.
And
So
you just remember that
I
you
do.
and
I do. I love you guys beyond.
love you, sis.
Love you too, big sis.
Thank you guys for
Love you,
listening.
sis.
Love
And
you,
I love
sis.
my brother and my sister-in-law too.
Love where Stitcher at. I love her too.
Yes, she
Love
is.
Thank you,
Love you,
Stitcher. I
AP.
love you.
And
Guys, you already know, huh?
really don't know how much your brother loves you. You might know, but I tell you, it goes beyond that.
That's another Oprah show.
Right?
But sidebar, that your mother did tell me that when Greg first got sick and I was there. She's like, I've never seen anything like it. So
Yeah.
I,
Yeah.
I love you guys. I mean, like there's no end to it. So thank you. Guys, as you know, whenever I have an interview, or especially my family, we go longer. I pray that you take the time to listen to the whole episode, because we touched on so many amazing topics that will save a life. So thank you for your support. If you don't already, find me on any platform, social media platform, Diva with Depression. Go to divawithdepression.com. You can subscribe to my website. You can listen to the podcast, but please like, share, discuss, because this was important. Men's health is it's not more important, it's just as important as everybody else's health. But if we don't get our brothers healthy, we're going to start slipping as a society. So please share this with the men in your life. I always thank my techie at the end. So Greg, give a quick shameless plug.
Illumination Media and Technology on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube.
Thank you. And he saves my life. And I will share, if it's okay, that you will be stepping into your own role as a host soon. And we're going to plug that next episode when you get it set up. But I love you guys. I'm proud of you. I love my snister and my sister. And you guys have an amazing evening, week, life. Find some peace, find some joy, even if it's just for 1 minute. Take care.
Love you.
Love you, sis.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.